Hi everybody, this is episode 21, titled Are We Conditioned for Violence by Ralph M. Lewis, who was once the imperator of the Rosicrucian Order.
Hi guys, I'll be reading this, Are We Conditioned for Violence? Bernard wrote this up in an email that he sent out. So I'm going to do him the honors of reading it. Hope you guys enjoy it. The entertainment programs on television have been the source of polemic discussion in the press and other media. Principally, this controversy has centered on whether the subject matter, the theme of the plays on television, has restored to extremes of violence. It would hardly be an exaggeration to say that all television stories include at least one killing. Some constitute a virtual concatenation of murder throughout the program. The taking of life in the scripts and in the actual television performance is not just implied. The action in most instances outlines the full details of the stabbing, shooting, clubbing, strangling, torture, drowning, and so on. They are those who remember when Hollywood censorship prohibited the showing of a knife actually entering the body or a bullet penetrating the flesh of its victim. An assassin was shown sighting the gun, but then the victim was shown either dead or wounded. The audience was spared the view of the victims being violently struck down. Now, however, the victim is seen with blood oozing from his wound. There is a forceful, brutal reality in such portrayals. The permissiveness of the age has encouraged this realism, as it is termed. The profanity and sexuality that has entered the films especially are defended on the grounds that these are a part of life. We are told that we should be mature, that we should look fully upon the vicissitudes of life and not endeavor to gloss over or evade them. This is not an altogether reasonable argument. It fails to take into consideration common decency and the sense of propriety of an individual. Most certainly, they are functions of a human being that are intimate and private, and as such, even though they are a reality, they should not be publicly be exposed. We are aware through history of unfortunate, though personal experiences of incidents and happenings that were horrendous, vicious, or obscene. But it is not necessary to pictorialize these things so as to establish the fact that they do exist. Conscience is not an endowment from on high. It is a sense of rectitude that an individual has embodying the moral and ethical values and terminology of the society in which he lives. We can say, therefore, that conscience is principally molded by our associations and environment. If violence is exhibited in the form of entertainment with a full complement of sordid details, it has an impact upon the conscience of the individual. He comes to feel little or even no offense at what he sees, especially if he has not had the opportunity to build up standards which are opposed to what he is viewing. Simply, Such an individual is conditioned to accept violence as a way of life, and he no longer feels any repugnance towards it, nor what is this?
Disinclination, yeah.
Disinclination
Disinclination.
to view it. For further explanations, we may use the analogy of the Romans during the period of their decline, when the citizens were offered gladiatorial shows to keep the multitudes of unemployed entertained and to furnish an escape from their personal misery. With continuous viewing of these barbarous events, the individual's feeling of disgust and revulsion grew less and less. They became so conditioned to the slaughter of men and animals through combat in the arena that they actually demanded more and more sacrifice of life in the same manner. Human compassion consequently became numbered. The producers of these modern TV shows defend the incidents of violence by claiming that there is a moral to the story. The guilty parties are most always apprehended and punished by the laws of society. Such conclusions are usually very brief, following at the end of a series of violence. Further, this punishment is usually portrayed as a shootout, as a further episode in the bloodbath. The crimes disclose all types of ways and weapons with which to take human life and comparative ease by which the crime can be committed. It is a matter of criminal record that certain heinous crimes had their inception in similar scenes portrayed on the screen. Persons mentally unbalanced or of low character are very susceptible to such visual suggestions. They have actual or imagined enemies, and what they see enacted suggests a method of eliminating their enemies. If, as educators say, television can be, as it is in many instances, a positive medium for education by its combined visual and auditory impact, then certainly the opposite or negative effect is equally impressive to those who do not have a highly developed restraint. It cannot be denied that the portrayal of violence to a great sector of the public and permitted pornography conditions the mind to accept these things as a part of the social order of the day. At least it does not strengthen the conscience of a restrictive measure against them. Man's elevation has not come about by resorting to the animalistic aspects of his nature. We are animals, but we also have potential to reach further, that is, to attain levels that rise above the primitive impulses of our being. To not bring forth these potentials is to sacrifice all that humanity has sought to accomplish by rising above the brutality of its primitive ancestors and early hominidae. Yeah. And that's it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a scene that I had created dealing with that, where I'm going to put you into the scene, those who are viewing this. Let's say there is a couple who married, gives birth to twins, males. The family is out on a trip, out going somewhere in a car, and there's an accident. And they're killed. The two babies, it's decided that they would give them up for adoption. separate them, give them up to for adoption. Nobody else wants them in the other family, or they don't have another family, whatever. This is just a thing that I tried to fix up. One child is taken by a family who lives in the Red Hook section. What is Red Hook section? In Brooklyn somewhere? Where's the Red Hook?
Red Hook? Yeah, it's in
All right.
Brooklyn.
Let's say this is a place where there are gangs, there are people are not, there are lots of negative things going on. And one child is raised up in that environment. Also, in that environment, the movies that he sees, the things that he experiences are all violent, gangs, guns, and things like that. The other one is put into a family who study the arts, the sciences, who around all the highest things of good. And the child growing up studies poetry, music, sciences, and things like that. Now, they want to have an experiment to find out the effects of the growth of these two individuals and how they would act under certain conditions. They choose one of you, and you accept this choice because they're going to give you $1 million to do this, to be in this experiment. Now, these two children at the age, say, of 17 are brought out there of their environment. They're brought together. You are told the environments that they have been in. And they're telling you that they're going to have, they want you to choose one of those children to take into a room that's been set up. The setup is that in that room there is a piano, there is a, what do you call the things where you paint, there are books on science and things like that. On the other side of the room, on the wall, is the AK-47, a bayonet, other destructive things. They ask you, they say, well, we want you to take pick one of those children into the room. You select whoever you want. What you are to do in that room is to upset them by not touching them or anything, by saying things harsh to them, not doing things to rile them up. And if you come out of that room without successfully, you will receive $1 million. I ask you, knowing the background of these two children, which one would you take into the room to aggravate, to say all kinds of things to get that child riled up? Which one would you take in? I have yet to hear anyone say I would take the child that has been raised in the environment where there was nothing but violence, guns, and gangs and things like that. Why? Because they know that the one who gets riled, that you take that one in, that one gets riled up. He's not going to seek to try to play the piano, to try to soothe you, play nice and beautiful music, or say nice things that he might try to calm you down. He's going to go for that gun and shoot you. You know this. This is what happens in such scenes whereby you see movies today. Nothing. When I grew up, when we would go into the movies, and when we were young kids, we'd go into the movies, we'd come out. We might want to portray what we saw in the movies. And of course, the leaders of the group would say, I'm going to be so-and-so. That's the good guy. And they would tell he would tell another fellow, you be the bad guy, you be so-and-so. The guy would say, I don't want to be him. The reason is because they know that he did not succeed. The good guy always won out. But today in the movies, it seems that even though the good guy may win in the long run, it's very short. The bad guy has gotten all the things, like, say, for instance, this is a drug selling. He's got the cars, he's got the women, he's got the money. And a kid today seeing all these negative things will say, well, I only have one life to live. I don't want to be the good guy. What did he get? He didn't get that much. This guy had everything. So I want to be like him. That is what negative influences have on the effect of our children. And this is being purposely put out today by those who are behind the scenes in the movie industry. They tell their children, you don't watch this. You watch this. You be better than them. Now I know this. You be better than them. This is for them. If you know what I'm talking about, I hope you understand what I'm saying. You can look behind the scenes and see who's running the musical industry, who are the agents in the musical industry. If you go to do something and you want to do really good, you have to get that job, to get that money. They will say, we don't want you to do this. We want you to be like this. You got the talent. You can be this. To bring out the negative things to the youth. They don't want the good things. The good things they want for theirs. I know this. I know it. When I grew up in Harlem, when I saw it deteriorating, I saw the movies that I used to go to. There was a place called the Morningside Theater. It used to show, I think, 2 movies or something like that. They used to have 5 comedies and a chapter. So we used to go there to spend our little money to get most out of what we saw. Eventually it closed down. It became a church. Some of the other stores, like I forget what it was, a big store closed down. It became a liquor store. And it started to spreading out into Harlem. And Harlem started deteriorating. There is a purpose behind all these things that are going on. The church is dominated by the powers that be. They tell them what they have set up, what they want them to teach. And it's not of the highest good. It's confusing. And when people are confused, they act in that manner. But I'll get off of that.
Well, in my study in school, because I'm a sociology major, and in sociology we study society. Why one society is different than another, why the society behaves the way it does, how others think of it, how we view it from an objective point of view, not judging them on how they are. Precondition, are we preconditioned for violence? Yes, I believe we are preconditioned for it. And sociologists would probably say yes. I mean, society does shape a person for who they are. Language. If I was born in, let's say, Afghanistan or Pakistan or somewhere, I probably English wouldn't be my first language. I'm born here. English is my first language. If I was born in France and raised, I'd be speaking French. I'd have their belief system, their traditions, their values, their morals, their norms. So definitely, if we have a class system, rich, middle class, which is diminishing, and the poor class, which you mentioned, the kid being raised with violence and gangs and all the stuff on TV, they're going to act out on it because it's all they know. Versus the other upper class child that was not exposed to this, was exposed to theater and opera and symphony and that kind of stuff. He's going to see beauty in the arts and not AK-47s and shooting and killing and rap and hip hop. It's a result of the monetary. It is a result of the religious institutions. And I feel a big part is the monetary system. Because those that control the money at the top, like Bernard was mentioning, the powers that be, they have a control over a lot of sectors. Those who are behind the curtain, those running it. And if they have television shows that are out that are violent, promote violent, video games that are shooting people like Grand Theft Auto. I mean, I think that's an older game, but they have some of the newer games that are out now that I'm not really up to date with. But there's a lot of violence in these games. I mean, for me growing up playing Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, and there were violence in the game, playing it. Definitely, I mean, people are going to act out on it, but they're going to blame things on other things. They're not going to point to these things that these television shows. I think it's more the TV shows than just the games. The games are bad, but I think TV shows and the music and the music videos, they're not motivating to tell a person be better than what you are, but you have to do it by getting, excuse my language, like when you watch hip hop videos, getting holes, getting women, big butts, sex, hustling drugs, getting all different kinds of cars. That's the mentality that they want to keep, say, the black man or the Hispanic man looking down. And that's because of the way the class system is, The black man built America, but they never got paid for it because of slavery. So, I mean, the black man's in an awkward position now where it's hard for the black man to be equal, stand toe-to-toe with the white man in the business world. And the powers that be, I mean, this is the way it's been set up. We've mentioned this before in other episodes, but that's why we're conditioned for violence because of our upbringing, basically just summing it up. And those who have money can have a better life than those that don't. Those that watch are home because their mother, or even if they have a father, a lot of single mothers in lower class, in the class system, where the mother's working and the children are home alone and they're watching whatever they want on TV. And there's no proper supervision. There's no guidance to put them in after-school programs, or in a lot of areas, I mean, they all play basketball in low-class areas. You don't see many of them playing baseball, soccer, different variety of sports to have an understanding or respect for it. But, I mean, my thing is, it's all because of the monetary system. You get rid of that, put in a new system, this will change. All the school shootings, and I mean, we have shootings here in New York City schools. They never talk about it, but if it's a small community in, say, Colorado, not to offend anybody from Colorado, or a small town, it's a big issue because it's a big issue because it doesn't happen in a place like that. But why does it happen here more than other places? They're not getting to the underlying causes of that. And that's my beef that I have with this class system. It's going to create problems. It was meant to create problems. If you have one class struggling, they're going to be more upset than those who are doing better. Sure, they say you have more money, more problems for the upper class, but they're not struggling the way the lower class is struggling. Their upbringing is different than the lower class. But that's just my take on it. But I agree with we are conditioned for. Oh, yes. We're conditioned not just for violence, but we're conditioned for whatever it is that we're exposed to growing up. Some do change out of it.
Some get out of it, yeah.
Yeah, some get out of it. Like, I'm a little different what I've been through in my life and how I've, steered clear. I mean, I've got myself into trouble when I was a teenager, sure. But I didn't stay on that course. But any last words?
No, that's about it.
And those who control the movie and the business, that select group that controls the media and the music industry and, the banking systems, and they're not going to change this for the better of people where there aren't they don't have any good shows like The Cosby Show, Full House, and Family Matters. Those good shows that they had on TV, they don't have those type of shows anymore. And I was watching a show, I wasn't really watching it, my mom was actually watching it, and I happened to be in her presence doing something. And it's like a show, I think, on Channel 2 or something. I don't know if it's Mike and Molly or one of those shows, where they mentioned a G-spot. And like, this is what they have on television and children watching with their families. That's even if the families even sit down and watch TV together. It's unbelievable. But those who control the money, those who are making money and profit off it, they're not going to change it. But then again, they have the people so dumbed down that that's all they know and they want to see more and more of it. So that's all I have to say. Any closing words?
No.
That's it. All right, guys. We'd love to hear your comments, opinions, and subscribe to our channel and email out our videos to others and talk about it with friends and family. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching.
Thank you.